February 29, 2016. Moscow. Something felt off at Oktyabrskoye Pol metro station. A woman, dressed head to toe in black, stepped out of a taxi. She laid a prayer mat on the ground, and beside it a plastic bag. Commuters stared, puzzled and uneasy, but her bulky figure seemed to repel their glances like a wall of steel. She knelt and began to pray. The woman's strange behavior immediately caught the attention of police. They approached and interrupted her chanting, asking to see her ID, but she fell silent. Then she pulled the bag closer and took out what was inside. A child's head, a severed human head with short, dark hair. "I killed her," she screamed, "and now I'll blow myself up." In seconds, the station exit was shut down. Nearby shops and malls were evacuated. Panic swept through the streets as people screamed and scattered. Subway trains were halted, and in that moment of eerie silence, her voice echoed through the cold winter air. She called herself a terrorist. She said she hated democracy. She shouted, "Allahu Akbar," again and again. No one knew what she might do next. A severed head in one hand, and possibly explosives hidden somewhere. Had she pressed a button, it could have ended in mass casualties. Thankfully, after 40 tense minutes, she was taken into custody. Her name was Gulchekhra Bobokulova, a 39-year-old woman from Uzbekistan, a mother of 3, a nanny. And until that day, she came highly recommended. The little girl's name was Anastasia. She was born on August 18, 2011, to Vladimir and Ekaterina Meshcheryakov, a couple raising a teenage son from Vladimir's first marriage. But Anastasia's life began with tragedy. Due to a medical error, she went 14 hours without oxygen while still in the womb. She was born in silence, no cries, no movement. Because of the trauma, she suffered from epilepsy and severe developmental delays. She couldn't walk. She barely responded. Still, her family loved her fiercely. They did everything they could. They took her to China for treatment. Germany was next. When Anastasia turned 1, her parents began looking for a nanny. They interviewed several candidates, and finally they chose Gulchekhra Bobokulova. She had moved to Moscow from Uzbekistan, worked various jobs at a vegetable warehouse, as a market vendor, and later as a nanny in another Moscow family. To the Meshcheryakovs, she seemed perfect, quiet, kind, devoted to Anastasia. Their friends even said she truly loved the child. She became part of the family. They called her simply Gulya. February 29, 2016. Inside the Meshcheryakovs' apartment, on the 5th floor of an ordinary Moscow building, something terrible was about to happen. That morning, Vladimir and Ekaterina left for errands. Their 15-year-old son went with them. Only Anastasia and her nanny stayed behind. The child played for a while, then dozed off, but her nanny wasn't sleeping. Bobokulova entered the girl's room. She watched her for a long time. Then she reached down and wrapped her hands around Anastasia's neck. The child was too weak to fight back. Death came quickly. Once she was sure the girl had stopped breathing, Bobokulova walked to the kitchen. She returned with a large knife. And there, in the room still filled with children's toys, she severed the child's head from her body. She placed it in a bag. Then she poured lamp oil around the apartment and set it on fire. And she left. She got into a taxi and told the driver to take her to Oktyabrskoye Pol station. The driver noticed the strange bag in her hands, but had no idea what horror lay inside. While she rode in silence, the apartment was consumed by flames. Neighbors noticed the smoke and called the fire department. Firefighters arrived quickly, but by then, it was too late. The apartment was destroyed. And inside the charred remains, they made a chilling discovery: the headless body of a little girl. Meanwhile, her head was already being paraded in front of shocked bystanders. A woman in black threatening a massacre in the name of religion. After her arrest, Gulchekhra Bobokulova gave a confession. She said she killed the girl as revenge for Russia's military actions in Syria. She claimed she acted on orders from Allah. She said it was a sacrifice. She was born in Samarkand in a large family with 5 sisters. Her first husband, Radmir, was the father of her 3 sons. In 2002, she was diagnosed with schizophrenia. Her marriage fell apart soon after. Back home, everyone knew she was mentally ill. She couldn't hold down a job. But in Moscow, nobody knew her past. There, she met Sukrob Muminov, another Uzbek migrant. They fell in love and married. For 2 years, things were peaceful, until she discovered he was cheating. They divorced. In 2014, she met Mamur Jurakulov, a 48-year-old man from Tajikistan. They married in a religious ceremony and traveled to his hometown. After that, her behavior began to change. She became withdrawn. She spent hours online. She began praying more, longer, louder. Where once she'd quietly pray in a spare room, she now prayed obsessively. The Meshcheryakovs grew concerned. They offered her other jobs, lighter duties. They thought maybe she was just tired, but she refused to leave. One day, she told them she wanted to go to Syria, to live in a country where she could wear a veil and follow Islamic law. Then came the day that changed everything. During interrogation, Bobokulova said she would have killed her own sons too, because they don't read the Quran. She underwent psychiatric evaluation. Doctors diagnosed her with paranoid schizophrenia, a form known for sudden, severe psychotic episodes. On October 24, 2016, she stood trial. She pled guilty to everything. But the court ruled her insane. She was committed to a psychiatric hospital for mandatory treatment. The public was horrified. The brutal death of Anastasia shook all of Russia. Donations poured in. Strangers helped the family pay for the funeral. They raised enough to begin restoring the burned apartment. Damage estimated at 5.5 million rubles. Even local Muslim communities condemned the crime. They were outraged by how Bobokulova had twisted their faith. But money can't heal what was truly lost. Anastasia's parents were devastated. They had believed in a future, that their daughter could live, recover, maybe even walk one day. Her 15-year-old brother was in shock. Ekaterina, her mother, fainted upon hearing the news. Vladimir, her father, suffered nervous breakdowns, one after another. They buried Anastasia in the town of Livny. The metro station, their apartment building, even her grave, all became memorials. People brought toys, flowers, candy, lit candles, cried, and talked of revenge. Many wanted vigilante justice, but the Meshcheryakovs were too broken to even speak. Vladimir turned to alcohol. Their marriage fell apart, then reunited, then ended again. In 2018, he died from meningitis and sepsis. He was buried next to his daughter. Ekaterina, who had stayed by his side until the end, devoted herself to raising his son. The boy graduated school with honors and entered military medical school. Eventually, Ekaterina found love again. She remarried, had another child. As for Gulchekhra Bobokulova, she remains in a psychiatric facility in Kazan. Doctors say her condition is now stable. Some believe she'll eventually be released and return to Samarkand. Her family says she wants to come home. They say there's a garden waiting for her there, and a house to clean. But for many, no punishment, no institution, no garden could ever be enough. Not after what she did.